It's pretty safe to say that Chris Barnes is one of the best bowlers we've ever seen on the PBA Tour, and perhaps is even in the conversation for one of the best of all time. Barnes won a total of 19 PBA titles, including 3 majors. He won the Rookie of the Year award in 1998 and the PBA Player of the Year in the 2007-2008 season. He's also one of only 8 players in PBA history to earn the Triple Crown, and Barnes was inducted into the PBA Hall of Fame in 2017. Chris Barnes was dominant for many years during his prime. His approach and his technical game really was flawless, but what made him such a top tier player was his knowledge of the game and his ability to adapt to the lane conditions, because he was probably the best out of all the PBA pros when it came to just knowing how and when to make crucial adjustments. He just seemed to be able to both see and read the lanes in ways that other players could not. Really, the only negative about his game that I can think of was the fact he had many struggles on live TV. And this wasn't just the case for 1 or 2 seasons. His TV struggles followed Barnes throughout much of his career. These struggles certainly did not go unnoticed, and Barnes often acknowledged this himself in various interviews. There are a number of examples of matches that he lost due to uncharacteristic mistakes. Certainly there was some bad luck involved too, but for a player of Chris's quality, you would have expected him to have performed better on TV throughout his career. Now, I know it sounds strange to say this, but for someone as good as Chris Barnes, 19 titles does feel a little bit on the low side. In my mind, he was on that same sort of level as a Pete Webber, Parker Bone, Norm Duke, Walter Ray, etc., and he really probably should have been pushing 30-35 titles. So that's why in today's video we're going to take a look at his career and answer the question, how many titles should Chris Barnes have won? So let's start at the beginning of Barnes' career. He joined the tour in 1998, and although he didn't win a title, he won PBA Rookie of the Year. Barnes quickly found success, however, capturing his first title in the following year in the 1999 Flagship Open. He followed this debut win with a second title in the same year at the PBA Oregon Open. However, in the following year, things started to go a little bit wrong for Barnes, but not in the way you might expect. On the one hand, the 2000 season was probably the best of his career, as he made a staggering 12 televised shows in one season. The problem was, he did not win a single title out of those 12 appearances. In fact, this set a new record for the most consecutive TV appearances without a win in a single season, a record that has yet to be broken. The closest he came to winning a title in the 2000 season was at the MSN Open, where he entered the TV finals as the #1 seed and ended up facing Norm Duke in the final match. Barnes needed 2 strikes and 9 in the 10th frame. He got the first strike after the messenger just took out the 10, but then went a little light, leaving the 7-pin, and handed Duke the title. Obviously you aren't going to win every title match you play, but clearly Chris had some pretty big struggles on TV, as admitted himself. So let's now take a look at 3 examples where Chris really should have taken the title. Probably the most classic example of Barnes choking in a title match was the infamous title match against Michael Haugen Jr. at the 2008 Tournament of Champions. After 6 frames, Barnes held a 53-pin lead, and he seemed to be in complete control of the match. He was still up by 41 pins in the 9th frame when Barnes left a 10-pin and just missed the spare. Haugen had doubled in the previous 2 frames and struck in the 9th frame to cut the lead down to 19. He then went on to throw 2 strikes in the final frame, forcing Barnes to throw 2 strikes himself, and Barnes left a 2-pin, which he spared, and this left Barnes needing a strike to force a roll-off. But unfortunately he left the 4-pin standing and gave Haugen his first career major title. But it's not all down to Barnes choking, and to be fair, he did experience a lot of bad luck over the years. For example, in 2009, Barnes qualified as the #2 seed in the US Open. If he had won the title in this tournament, it actually would have given him his 2nd straight Player of the Year award. However, in the semi-final match against Mike Scroggins, Barnes needed a strike on his first ball in the 10th frame to move on to the title match. However, he left a pretty brutal 8-pin, and he made the spare, and he actually still could have forced a sudden death roll-off by striking on the final shot, but yet again he couldn't quite carry at the right time and left a 10-pin, which gave Scroggins the victory 200 to 199. Third example is the 2010 USBC Masters, a major event that Barnes has never won, even though he's had some incredible performances. Barnes once again qualified as the 1 seed in 2010 and faced the legend Walter Ray Williams Jr. Barnes bowled pretty well, but he just couldn't get the same carry as Walter, and he had some unfortunate breaks. But Walter did, well, just what Walter does, and threw a 290 game against Chris. Now obviously there's not a lot you can do when your opponent does that, but Barnes would have felt that he matched Walter Ray, as he was basically in the pocket every shot, just like Walter was. But Barnes just could not get the same sort of carry, and the final score was 290 to 217. And although on paper when you look at the score it seems like Barnes was completely trashed, well, that wasn't really the case, because when you watch the match, I'd say they bowled pretty similar, to be honest. There wasn't a lot in it apart from carry. Now clearly the Haugen match should have resulted in another title for Barnes. I don't want to take anything away from Haugen, because he had an incredible performance. He managed to hang in there, and the fact he managed to strike out to give himself a chance was superb. But at the same time, Barnes really did throw this one away. The single pin miss just let Haugen back into the match, and to be honest, if he had spared this, it pretty much would have resulted in a win for Barnes. So I think the overall theme for this video is that Barnes clearly had many struggles on TV, and for someone who was arguably the best player in the world in his prime, 19 titles just wasn't enough. I believe that Barnes should easily have reached 30 titles, and just as a comparison, that is the number that Belmonte recently surpassed, who is now on 31. So just to finish up on today's video, I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Barnes should have won more than 19 titles? And if so, how many do you think he should have won? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed this video. Thank you bowling fans, and see you all next time.